I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. Say it with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Douglas Ducote Show. You had many places you could be tonight, but you chose to be here with me, and for that I am forever grateful. Tonight's lead story is currently, right now, being reported by militarynews.com, also CNN, Fox News, ABC, NBC, and CBS. So it is my hope that YouTube will read those reports before banning tonight's show for what they consider medical misinformation, which, by the way, it is not. It is just their way of censorship against conservatives, Republicans, and anyone that goes against their ideology. Also, I'm broadcasting on several locations on Facebook tonight, the Douglas Ducote Show Facebook page, as well as my own personal Facebook page. So I have to be a little bit more discreet on some of the things that I say than I normally would. But we get through this with flying colors, I'm sure. So what is that story? This is one of two tonight that I'm concerned about for censorship. Retired Navy Chief Petty Officer Chris Beck, a combat decorated former Navy SEAL from SEAL Team 6, who came out as a trans woman in 2013. Now, after living nearly a decade of his life as a trans woman, Beck is detransitioning back to a man and criticizing the activists that felt he was used and propagandized him. And for those of you who have not seen what he looks like, and just when I thought I'd be able to show that, I can't. All right. We will continue on. In a December 9th interview with conservative activist Robbie Starbuck, Beck said, "I was very naive. I was in a very bad way. I got taken advantage of. I got propagandized. I got used badly by a lot of people who had knowledge way beyond me, that they knew what they were doing." In 2013, Beck came out as a trans woman and began going by the name Christian Beck. His trans identity announcement caught widespread attention, and he became the subject of a 2014 CNN documentary, Lady Valor, the Christine Beck story. Beck's high-profile story of coming out as a trans woman preceded the military's decision in 2016 under then President Barack Obama to allow transgender individuals to serve in the United States military. Beck continued to go by Christian until revealing his detransitioning efforts on the Starbuck show. "I want to make sure the whole world knows everything you see on CNN about my face. Do not believe a word of it," Beck said. And by the way, CNN is taking a lot of this and not reporting on it, just the major story that he's transitioning, instead of what he had to say about CNN. "Everything that happened to me for the last 10 years is just horrible. It destroyed my life. I'm not a victim. I did it to myself, but I had some help to hurt it." Beck said his heavy reliance on medications impacted his mental state during this period as a trans woman. Beck said the Department of Veterans Affairs kept prescribing those medications after he sustained a back injury. VA kept prescribing it, overprescribing opiums and everything, Beck said. Then the mood and everything was messed up, so I was on mood stabilizers. Then he put me on this depression stuff, the Cymbalta crap, and a whole bunch of stuff that was making me a wreck. Beck said a Green Beret friend of his became concerned for him and referred him to a psychologist by the name of Ann Speckhard. Beck said he told Speckhard about how he sometimes wore girls' clothes. He said he believes he was going through an adjustment disorder after his military service and the stuff he did in war. Beck and Speckhard saw the clothing. She saw the dress. And then she said, "You're transgender." She started jumping all over this. And she's an author and a publisher. She said, "Oh my God, we could write a book and make millions." And then it all went downhill after that. Everything she taught me, every meeting, she kept digging, and all that it is, just keep going and going and going. And it was horrible. Beck and Speckhard co-wrote a book together about Beck's transitioning called Warrior Princess, a U.S. Navy SEAL's journey to coming out as transgender. I'm walking around and I'm getting love bombed, Beck said. So I got love bombed by CNN. I got love bombed by her in the beginning. And then she was like, "Oh my God, this is great. We're going to be millionaires." Beck said he's speaking out about his transitioning because he's concerned about young children going through similar experiences. As soon as they go in and say, "I'm a tomboy," I like to do that, and it makes me feel comfortable. They give all their reasons why, and then psychologists say, "Oh, you're transgender," Beck said. And then the next day, you're on hormones, and the hormones that they're using are the same hormones that are used for medical castration against pedophiles. Now they're giving this to healthy 13-year-olds. Does this seem right? Beck said. Reacting to Beck's interview with Starbuck, Speckhard shared several tweets stating that she never directly treated Beck and that as a psychiatrist, she would have recommended slowing down the transitioning process and spending more time examining Beck's trauma first. Christian is now transitioning. I wish her all the best and peace in her life, to live well after serving out our country for so many years, Speckhard said, still referring to Beck by female pronouns and the name he used as a trans woman. And I wish we would be very, very careful before moving quickly with any teens who may be exploring new identities, rebelling, trying to be cool and fit in, or running from traumatic past or messages and experiences that our gender or body is not safe. Christian's coming out story is told here. Some Twitter users questioned by Speckhard continued to reference Beck by the name of Christian and by she and her pronouns after his announcement that he was transitioning from being a trans woman back to a man. Great insight and highlights the Ingress oversight and transgendering treating dysphoria. But why are you referencing to Chris as she, Christian, when he is detransiting? I don't understand, one Twitter user said. You are right. I was reflecting to the time period when I was writing her biology and telling me her life story, she tweeted. Again, in the past, when I've talked about issues like this, I get censored. But this report that I just read to you is on militarynews.com in its entirety, Fox News in its entirety, ABC, CBS, and NBC. It's also on CNN, although they took out the negative stuff about them. Joe Biden will allow Washington State to provide health insurance You ready for this? To illegal immigrants within its borders by rolling backwards requirements for the Affordable Care Act. The Department of the Treasury and the Department of Health and Human Resources, or Human Sources, approved the state's request via a state intervention waiver, which was required by Washington's group in May. Washington has requested a waiver in order to expand access to qualified health plans, standalone qualified dental plans, and a state affordability program to Washington residents, regardless of immigration status, HHS and Treasury said in a joint statement. The statement continued, the waiver will help Washington work towards its goal of improving health equality and reducing racial disparities by expanding access to coverage for the uninsured population through the state exchange, and while not increasing costs for those currently enrolled, which, by the way, is not true because you, the taxpayer, are paying for this. The ACA's normal regulations explicitly exclude non-citizens living in the U.S. illegally for collecting the benefits of the program. Washington's successful campaign to expand coverage to illegal immigrants is the first of its kind since the ACA was introduced. And I assure you that now California and Oregon, at a minimum, will join this as well. State intervention waivers are granted under supervision of the HHS and Treasury for states seeking to modify existing ACA regulations to suit their specific needs. Section 1332 of the Affordable Care Act permits a state to apply for a state intervention waiver, also referred to as Section 1332 waiver, to pursue innovative strategies for providing residents with access to high-quality, affordable health insurance while retaining the basic protections of the ACA, according to the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services. In a statement, the department said that the approved modification of Washington's ACA contingent upon the state accepting specific terms and conditions will be valid starting in 2024 through 2028. So if anybody is on the left and Democrats are saying that we're not providing free health care to those that cross our border illegally, well, now you know that it's true. Former President Donald Trump has filed a defamation lawsuit this morning against the Pulitzer Prize Board over the 2018 National Reporting Prizes given to the New York Times and the Washington Post for coverage of the now debunked theory of alleged collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia. Trump's suit, filed Tuesday in Florida, was obtained by Fox News Digital. It states that a false connection was and remains the stated bias for the coverage that received the prestigious award. The staff of the Times and Post shared the 2018 Prize for National Reporting of deeply sourced, relentless reporting coverage in the public's interest that dramatically furthered the nation's understanding of Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election and its connection to the Trump campaign. The president-elect transition team and his individual administration, according to the Pulitzer Prize website. A large swath of Americans had a tremendous misunderstanding of the truth at the time that the Times and the Post propaganda of the Russia collusion hoax dominated the media, the complaint states. Remarkably, they were rewarded for lying to the American public. Let me suggest, Mr. Trump, that you also include CNN and MSNBC in the lawsuit. Trump's team previously called for a full and fair correction, apology, or retraction to be issued, in addition to the 2018 prizes being rescinded to the Pulitzer Prize Board, declared the awards will stand. The complaint made a series of points indicating why it feels the prize-winning stories are unworthy of the honor, including Special Counsel Robert Mueller's failing to find evidence of collusion, and the Department of Justice Inspector General's report outlining malfeasance by federal investigators. Trump's team also feels the actions of multiple individuals embroiled in the discredited Christopher Steele dossier, such as Michael Sussman, are evidence to support the claim that the Times and the Post are worthy of journalism awards for the Russian collusion narrative. Substantially, reporting on Russiagate has found that many claims of the Steele dossier that drove early narratives about Trump's Russia collusion were spurious, mere rumors, or even outright falsehoods, and that figures like Sussman acted on behalf of the Hillary Clinton campaign and pushed collusion narratives that filtered down to the media. And of course, we all know that now as fact. While elements at both the Times and the Post were almost certainly complicit in the Russian collusion hoax, it's ultimately whether the authors of the award article understood at any time they were propagating political disinformation manufactured by paid sources in an attempt to mislead the public and tarnish President Trump's reputation and political prospects, the complaint stated. What matters instead is the defendant's conduct, particularly when many of the key asserts and premises of the Russia collusion hoax that permitted the award articles have been revealed by the Mueller report and congressional investigations as false after the 2018 award was given. The complaint continued. Trump's team noted that the Washington Post has retracted statements from several articles from 2017 relating to the Steele dossier and other alleged connections between the Trump campaign and Russia. But the retracted articles, which also advanced the Russia collusion hoax narrative, were conveniently omitted from the specific articles submitted by the Post for the 2018 Pulitzer Prize. Earlier this year, the Pulitzer Prize Board issued a statement defending the 2018 award. Pulitzer Prize Board has an establishment formal process in which winners entitled are carefully reviewed. In the last 3 years, the board has received inquiries, including from former President Donald Trump, about submissions from the New York Times and the Washington Post on Russian interference in the U.S. elections and its connection to the Trump campaign. Submissions that jointly won the 2018 National Reporting Prize, the Pulitzer Prize Board wrote earlier this year. These inquiries prompted by Pulitzer Board to commission 2 independent reviews of the work submitted by those organizations to our national reporting competition. Both reviews were conducted by individuals with no connection to the institution whose work was under examination, nor any connection to each other. The separate reviews coverage and the conclusion that no passage or headlines, continuous or assertions in any of the winning submissions was decredited by facts that emerged to the conferral of the prizes, the board continued. Trump's team wrote that the statement was published with knowledge of reckless disregard for it as being false. And board members knew that the Russia collusion hoax had been thoroughly discredited numerous times by exhausted, credible official investigations, contradicting the deeply sourced, relentless reporting award-winning articles. At the time of the publication, nearly every branch of the agency of the federal government had examined this issue and reached the same conclusion. There was no conspiracy or cooperation between President Trump, the Trump campaign, and anyone in Russia. The Pulitzer statement was not knowingly published by defendants to create a false implication in the mind of the reader that the Trump campaign, the president-elect transition team, and his eventual administration was connected with Russia attempts to interfere in the 2016 presidential election. Defendants did so with actual malice and the intention to do harm to President Trump and his reputation, the complaint said, adding that the defendants didn't know they were untruthful. Then defendants purposely avoided further investigation when the intent to avoid the truth. In either case, defendants published the Pulitzer statement with actual malice, the complaint said. Plaintiff has been damaged by the publication of this statement because it intended to leave the reader with a false impression that President Trump colluded with a hostile foreign government to undermine a United States presidential election, and is further intended to stroke feelings of hatred, distrust, and discouragement in the reader towards the plaintiff. Again, Mr. Trump, I hope that you will add CNN and MSNBC, and hell, there's plenty others out there that did the exact same thing, not just those that got this award for trashing you. The Biden administration is requesting billions in additional funding for the border as it predicts an enormous spike in migrant encounters when the Title 42 authority to quickly expel migrants due to the COVID-19 pandemic ends later this month. According to a congressional aide, the Biden administration is seeking $2 billion for additional funding for Customs and Border, as well as $2 billion for Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE. That request, Fox is told, is based off the Department of Homeland Security's estimating of daily encounters once Title 42 is ended on December 21st, so just a few days from now. A court ordered the administration to stop using the authority, which has been used since March of 2020, to quickly return migrants to Mexico after finding it to be unlawful. That flow estimating predicted between 9,000 and 15,000 migrant crossings a day once Title 42 ends. For context, the average for fiscal year 2022, which were a record 2.3 million migrant crossings, was approximately 6,500 a day. The $4 billion funding request would fund border management, and the Department of Homeland Security would use it on soft-sided facilities, migrant care, transportation, processing, and the emergency food and shelter program. That is part of the 6-point plan the administration has released that includes surging resources to the border, anti-smuggling operations, and increased to use alternative expulsion authorities such as expended removal. So, first, it sounds great. Pisses off the left, pisses off the Democrats. What are you doing, Joe Biden? You want to send $2 billion to ICE and to the Border Patrol? And they get their panties up in a wad over this. And then when they read further, then they like it. And everybody else looks at it and goes, what the hell are we doing? Because it isn't to help them stop what's happening at the border. It isn't to help them stop the sex trafficking of humans, women, and children, or to stop MS-13 gang members, or to stop the massive amounts of drugs coming across the border, all of which are killing American citizens. No, it's for housing issues and transportation issues. It doesn't have anything to do with securing our border. The court ordered the administration to stop using the authority. That is just, I don't understand it sometimes. I completely don't grasp the concept here of why they think this is okay to continue. If you want to do something, keep Title 42 in play. Just keep it in play. And let the Border Patrol and ICE determine how to use that $2 billion. You don't dictate where it's going to go to. And then in this case, it goes to helping more come across the border. They're going to be running, walking, crawling, swimming, whatever it takes to get across that border. Fox News reported today that there have been more than 500,000 encounters already this fiscal year, which began in October. There have been over 5,000, averaging at just under 7,000 a day. Of those, 162,547 have been expelled under Title 42. But that's about to change. Now they will be allowed here. That number is on track to outpace prior years. There are 517,000 encounters by the end of the year of fiscal year 2022 and fiscal year 2021, where there were just over 216,000 in the same period. In fiscal year 2020, there were only 458,000 encounters for the entire fiscal year. Fox News captured footage this week of migrants who've been released in El Paso after a huge migrant caravan hit the border on Monday. Dozens of migrants could be seen camping out on the street corner. Agents in El Paso sector have made 2,416 encounters in just the last 24 hours. One Border Patrol agent said that the numbers continue to overwhelm exhausted Border Patrol agents who continue to do their best in spite of the evidence and lack of support and leadership. CBP acknowledges that it has seen a spike in encounters along the border in recent days. Customs and Border Protection El Paso sector on the Texas border with Mexico has seen an increase in encounters. CBP said in a statement that was released yesterday. In order to process individuals as safely as possible, Border Patrol agents from Big Bend and CBP officers from El Paso field office are assisting with processing. Meanwhile, in Brownsville, Texas, Fox News witnessed repeated mass releases of several hundred migrants in a parking garage. Migrants were dropped off by the hundreds, in which they walked across to a local non-government organization where they were given travel paperwork from where they were freed to take a flight or a bus across our country. Now, think about how many did not get caught, did not get stopped. That number is probably triple what is actually being caught. Now, let me go on record once again, and I've said this many, many times. Conservatives and Republicans and American patriots of this country are not against people coming here to America. We're a melting pot of people from all over the world. You and me. We didn't start here. None of us alive today are originally from here. Our ancestors came from somewhere else. But we came here legally. And conservatives and Republicans and American patriots are totally okay, fine with allowing people to come to America the legal way, not the illegal way. And we want to stop those coming here for bad reasons, such as bringing drugs across the border, fentanyl, for instance, that's killing thousands of Americans, especially our youth. We want to stop those coming across that are bringing women and children for sex trafficking purposes. We want to stop the MS-13 gang members. Why is this so difficult for the left and Democrats to grasp? I don't understand. Because none of it affects their loved ones. And when the day comes, and the day will, trust me, that one of them are directly affected by their failed policies on that border, then and only then will the Democrats have a change of mind. Sadly. President Joe Biden signed the Respect for Marriage Act today, which officially enshrines certain protectors for same-sex marriages into federal law. I, for instance, didn't think that was an issue. I'm sure you didn't either. I thought quite some time ago we agreed this was okay, and the Supreme Court agreed it was okay, and now all of a sudden it's an issue. Well, it's not really an issue. It's that Elections are coming up soon, and we need to make it look like it's an issue. In attendance at the event on the south lawn of the White House were members of the president's cabinet, numerous lawmakers, including House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who's about to be unemployed, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, and LGBTQ activists, including non-binary drag queen Martin Gould Cummings. Today, I signed the Respect for Marriage Act into law. Deciding whether to marry, who to marry is one of the most profound decisions a person can make, Biden said. For most of our nation's history, we denied interracial couples and same-sex couples from these protections, and we failed. We failed to treat them with equal dignity and respect, and now the law requires that we treat interracial marriage equally. Folks, that is 100% a lie. Yes, years ago, this was an issue. It isn't an issue today. It's not an issue today. Let me also make it clear to the left and Democrats that Republican conservatives and American patriots, we don't care what you do behind closed doors. We don't care. We don't care who you marry. If you're a boy and want to be with a boy, you're a girl and want to be with a girl, man or woman, we don't give a damn. That's irrelevant to us. We're way past that. Those days of discrimination against people of that community is long over with. I have friends that are gay. I have friends that are lesbians. I have friends I served in the military that are, in law enforcement that are, that I went to school with that are. Those friends I'd take a bullet for. That's how much I respect them. But they don't go around pushing this drag queen BS on our kids and in our schools. And that's what's happening. That's why so many people are getting upset. It's the actions of a certain few. It isn't the overall people in the LGBT community that's doing this. No, it's this small percent, less than 0.25%, that wants to shove all this down our throats. Same-sex marriage must be recognized as illegal in every state in the nation, Biden said. It is. The Respect for Marriage Act won approval in the House of Representatives with a 258 to 169 vote. After the Senate passed it, 61 to 36, during his speech, Biden took aim at Republican-led states that limit transition surgeries for minors. This is the guy at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue that's the president of the United States that's upset with Republican-run states for not allowing those underage to have their body parts removed and take hormones to change them into a different type of human and alter their DNA. I'm 60 years old, people, and I never in my wildest imaginations would believe that we would be here one day, much less have a president that's encouraging this. This is child abuse. When you become an adult, if you want to transition, I don't care. And neither do conservatives, Republicans, and most American patriots. We don't care. But you can't tell me that it's okay to allow this to happen to our youth who are completely confused in their early teens as to what they are. Hell, most of them don't know anything about sex to start with. And they're trying to learn that and figure that out. We all go through that process. It's called puberty and determining what we are and where we stand in this globe, in this world, where we fit in or don't fit in. But yet, we want to get them while they're still a little kid and make that decision for them based on what's just coming out of their current little mouth without having the brain power and knowledge to understand what's being done to them. And I believe I just shared with you in the opening of this show just how dangerous that can be. And he was an adult, a former member of SEAL Team 6. We need to challenge the hundreds of callous, critical, cynical laws introducing in the states targeting transgender children, terrifying families, and criminalizing doctors who give children the care they need, Biden said. The president and first lady also invited to the ceremony members of the LGBTQIA plus community, advocates and allies, including drag queens Cummings and Brita Filter. Now, you may be asking who they are, and we're going to get to that here shortly. Fox News Digital previously reported that the White House had invited Cummings, a non-binary drag queen who has repeatedly attacked police online. Cummings said in June of 2020 in a tweet on her Twitter page, "The people will hashtag defund the police. F the police." Cummings tweeted on August 24, 2020. Following the tweet and reports related to previous posts, Cummings locked multiple social media accounts from public view. To be a non-binary drag artist invited to the White House is something I never imagined would happen, Cummings tweeted after being invited by the president to attend the ceremony. "Thank you, President and Dr. Biden, for inviting us to the historic bill signing." He invited a drag queen, a human being dressed up as a circus clown who is advocating to defund law enforcement and F the police in tweets on Twitter. Joe Biden invited them to the White House for this signing. Now, that being said, I will say this much. He doesn't know what he did. He's not running the country, to be honest with you. Sadly, he's delusional. He has a mental issue. And look, I'm no doctor. I'm no medical expert, although I've got many in my family. But anyone who watches what comes out of his mouth and watches his reactions and press conferences, hell, it's all over YouTube. It's all over social media. You can see it. He has either dementia or something happening to his brain that is not allowing him to function as a normal human being. And that's sad. That should be addressed. You know, I'm not making fun of that. Make sure you understand. I'm saying it's a concern. I'm concerned about Joe Biden's health. I'm also concerned about the fact that I view this as allowing him to continue to make these gaffes and make statements and comments that make absolutely no sense, and turning around and shaking hands with invisible people and wandering around after a speech like he doesn't know where he's supposed to go. All of that is elder abuse if you continue to put it on as a dog and pony show on a regular basis. It's horrible what they're doing to this man. Grateful doesn't begin to express the emotions I feel, folks. Racism and anti-Semitism, homophobia, transphobia were all connected. But the antidote to hate is love. This law and the love defense strikes a blow against hate in all forms, Biden said today. Conservatives reacted to the president's bill signing, saying Biden was virtually signaling. Ryan Begert of Alliance Defending Freedom, a conservative law firm that has opposed the bill, said in a statement, "The president chose virtual signaling over protecting millions of Americans, churches and faith-based organizations have spoke out for months about the undeemable harms of this unnecessary bill. This law is a solution in search of a problem that provides no additional protection or benefits to same-sex couples, they said. Some progressives have also criticized the bill before its signing, saying it doesn't do enough to protect same-sex couples. Washington Post columnist Jonathan Caphart, who married his husband in 2017, said in a Washington Post column that he supports the bill, but admitted that the more closely he looked at it, the more his joy diminished. As we get closer and closer to elections, this is the kind of things that happen. We start inventing things that aren't there to appease our base. And look, Republicans are just as guilty as Democrats of doing this. Okay? That's how it is. That's how it works, my friends. But it's sad that it works that way. The cremated remains of a former Navy lieutenant who was buried at Arlington National Cemetery is about to be removed. Now, you may be wondering, why would we do something like that? Well, first off, he never should have been put there. Why? Because he was executed in 1993 for the brutal murder of a female officer. After he was executed, his family won a petition to have him buried at Arlington. A murderer that was executed. It is results of a several year-long veteran-led campaign to relocate the killer's ashes, which was ignored and rebuffed by the cemetery and Pentagon before finding a sympathetic congresswoman, the Post reported. Lieutenant Andrew Charbol, Chabrol, was executed via electric chair for the 1991 kidnap, rape, and murder of Petty Officer Second Class Melissa Harrington, who had reported him for sexual harassment. He blamed Harrington for ruining his career and marriage and plotting his revenge in a way he called her a nemesis. He tied Harrington to a bed, wrapped her head in duct tape, and strangled her with a rope. Since then, his remains have been kept in a vault at the U.S. Primary Military Cemetery. Now, nearly 30 years after his death, a short section of the National Defense Authorization Act for 2023 is required to have him relocated to someplace else because he never should have been allowed to be buried at Arlington. Nor should he be allowed to be buried at any VA cemetery. The House of Representatives passed the NDAA last week, and the Senate is expected to approve it this week, putting it in President Joe Biden's hands to sign. The provision requires his remains to be removed and handed over to his next of kin, and if they don't want him, to be disposed of, as the Secretary of the Army determines appropriate. It faced no objections when it was added to the NDAA by Representative Jackie Spear, Democrat, California, who said he had no place in the cemetery to start with and never should have been there. In addition to the NDAA, following years of efforts by Jody Farmer, a Navy veteran who discovered Harrington's case in 2018 and set out to honor her memory by removing the killer from his honorable resting place, her friends that mourn her and husband that mourn her can know that that this guy who killed her will not be getting a memorial flag. He will not be getting a wreath on Christmas, and he won't be honored. Farmer said of the possibility that Charbol would be removed from Arlington. The Post reported that Farmer started an online petition, wrote a letter to Arlington that was ignored, and wrote another letter to the Pentagon, which she said had no legal authority to do anything about it. Death penalty eligibility offenders buried prior to the passage of a 2013 burial review law is still being looked at. Spicer has also introduced a new law that would allow reconsideration of national cemetery burials as old as 1990 in cases where veterans were convicted of death penalty as eligible crimes, the Post reported. So we allowed, not as in we, you and I, but the Pentagon and Arlington National Cemetery, a Navy veteran that murdered another Navy person because they were about to expose them for the affair that they were having. And then he was eventually executed for his murder and then given the highest honor you can receive after death, other than the Medal of Honor, is to be buried at Arlington National Cemetery. Absolutely pathetic. The following is being reported tonight, YouTube, by militarynews.com. So I hope YouTube will read that report before banning tonight's show for medical misinformation, which it is not. Military leaders are raising concerns about negative impacts on force readiness if the COVID-19 vaccine mandate is repealed. The concern comes after lawmakers added language in the 2023 defense budget to do exactly that, which is what we just got to talking about. That budget bill, it's already passed the House. It's expected to pass the Senate and then go to the president's desk. During a press conference, Deputy Pentagon Press Secretary Sabrina Sy said, "We know the vaccine can inoculate you against getting COVID-19, or at least protect you. If you do not contract COVID-19, your symptoms won't be nearly as bad." And so, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin fully supports maintaining the vaccine mandate. He believes that this is something that keeps our force healthy and keeps our forces safe. Singh went on to say that repealing the vaccine mandate would impact the readiness of the force. "You're more prone to getting COVID-19, she said. "Again, we've seen the impacts of COVID we had on millions of people that died in this country because of either not having access to the vaccine or not taking the vaccine," she continued. "And we certainly know that the vaccine will save your life." This is a Pentagon spokesperson who said that. Since COVID-19 first appeared in the U.S. in 2020, about 1.09 million people have died either from or with the virus. That number includes 690 people within the Department of Defense. 96 military service members also died of the epidemic. White House National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby, who previously served as the Pentagon press secretary, called the vaccine mandate removing it language a mistake. Another senior defense official who spoke anonymously told the Washington Post that when service members get sick and if they should die, it will be on Republicans for pushing for the repeal of the military COVID-19 vaccine mandate. In a Reagan Defense Forum panel discussion this past weekend, Commandant of the Marine Corps, General David Byrd, said the COVID-19 vaccine mandate is tied to readiness of U.S. troops, but said the mandate was impacting recruiting. And let me go on record to say it's not just the Marine Corps, although that's not listed in this, but it's all the branches of service that are having trouble getting people to join because of this law. During the same panel discussion, Representative Mike Gallagher, Republican, Washington, said he believed the military COVID-19 vaccine mandate was lawful, but I'm not quite there on the readiness argument. House of Representatives passed the 2013 defense bill, as we just talked about last Friday. It still has to go to the Senate, and it has to go to the president to be signed. It remains to be seen if the Senate will also pass the 2023 defense bill with the vaccine language intact. Although the Republicans have said they will not be on board if you don't. Now, here's what's also in that same report right now at militarynews.com. According to a recent Kaiser Family Foundation analyst of CDC data, in April of 2020, people who were vaccinated against COVID-19 became the majority of the new COVID-19 deaths, overtaking deaths among the unvaccinated population. Between April and August of this year, the vaccinated population represented about 60% of new COVID-19 deaths. Vaccinated adults represent about 79% of the U.S. population, which helps explain why they represent a larger share of the deaths, according to the CDC. There were about 1.32 COVID-19 related deaths per 100,000 unvaccinated people in September, compared to 0.26 per 100,000 for those with their first COVID-19 vaccine series, and 0.07 per 100,000 for those with an up-to-date booster shot. So, I don't know. I know that the Kaiser Foundation is all medical doctors and medical scientists that have studied what's happening with this entire epidemic. And they just countered everything the Pentagon is saying. And you can go see that report right now at militarynews.com in its entirety. Anyway, you had a many places to be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. Thank you very, very much. If you haven't already done so, please like and subscribe to the channel. Also, check out the new YouTube channel, Charlie Hotel 47, which is non-political, and it's only videos and pictures of museums and places that I personally toured across the country, across the globe, as well as combat operations that I've been in during my military service time. It's for education purposes for our youth, basically, and for people that have not had the ability, like I have, to go see these places up close and personal for whatever reason, be it age, be it transportation, be it financially. You'll be able to do that. It's got some really cool information there and some really cool things that I hope that you will go check out. Also, go check out DouglasDucote.com, the website, and follow us there as well. In the description of this show, once it's done with and up as a regular video, if YouTube allows it to be up, you'll be able to see all the other places you can follow me on social media if you would like to do so. Again, if this video gets removed from YouTube, which I expect it will be up at DouglasDucote.com, and it will be up at Rumble at a minimum. So you can refer people there to see the things that social media censors me from talking about because, they know better, even though I'm quoting factual information that is out there in the public by military reporters, Kaiser Foundation scientists, and even CDC reports. We had a show shut down one time because I quoted some things from the CDC. And YouTube said because it didn't come from the World Health Organization, I couldn't report on it. Just doesn't make any sense. Thank you again for being here. As always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving in the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers all across this country, our first responders, their families, our angel families, and our blue and gold star families. And if by chance you don't know what angel families are or blue and gold star families, please look that up tonight. Educate yourself on it, because they need our support more than ever before, because this current administration doesn't care about their loved ones that are no longer with us. Thank you, everybody. And I'll see you Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central Time, right here for another episode of the Douglas Ducote Show. If anything breaks between now and then, I'll be more than happy to come out and either do a live show or to put out a video about it. Otherwise, have a blessed and wonderful evening. Whatever you're doing, be safe out there. Weather is getting pretty bad moving across the country. It's supposed to get pretty bad here in Southwest Louisiana later tonight and into tomorrow. And I looked at the radar earlier today, and it's a big blob of mess moving across the country. So be safe out there. Protect yourself, and I'll see you Thursday night. God bless everybody.